On this video, I'd like to cover going over one of the basic settings that you're going to find in the basic panel here that I don't really enjoy too much, and I recommend as you guys develop your skills within Adobe Camera Raw and within Photoshop and within photo editing, whether in Lightroom, that you start to consider using an alternative to the contrast feature. It's really easy to just go ahead and slide this to increase or decrease the amount of contrast. Keep in mind, I can just double click on this to always reset it to 0. I'm going to go ahead and close the basic panel at this point and move down to another setting within the basic panel, and that's the curve setting. Curves are one of the best ways to increase or decrease contrast, but control it in a way that's just not a slider. Contrast is one of those things that's so critical to the photographic process that having the ability to control and shape how your contrast looks is super important. So right now, you're going to note that I'm in the point curve. I recommend that for beginning students that you guys go to this other one over here, which is going to be the parametric curve. It's much easier to control. I've been working with it for years, and anyone that's worked with Photoshop will understand that it does take years of experience to actually control the effect of it. The parametric curve is very intuitive. As you can see, I'm placing a dot on here, and it shows me the area that I can affect. And what that does is I can go ahead and put a point on here. In addition to that, I can go ahead and put this little targeted tool over here. I clicked on that, and I can go on to the image itself and set the area that I want to target. So let's just say I want to target this area. I click on it, and then I can actually drag up or down. So down is going to decrease the contrast, up is going to increase the contrast on this particular one. So I'm just going to go ahead and go Command Z to undo that. Once again, you're going to notice that all those settings are right down here. And what you're thinking about, and the way that this is broken up into highlights, lights, darks, and shadows, is based upon the quadrants that you're looking at over here. Don't look at that little targeted adjustment. I'm going to switch back to this particular one, that you've got these 16 quadrants that you're working in. Your image information is this, steep mountain right here, which much mimics the histogram up on top. So going back into the target adjustment tool, I want to note that you can also move these left and right, these little areas right here. I'm not going to do that right now. I would just recommend that you guys leave those until you begin to understand how to put a point on here. The basic methodology of this particular tool is not all that complex, but the old saying is that it's an S-curve. An S-curve is the way to increase contrast. So what I'm going to do is, you notice my tool has an arrow up and down. I'm going to push that up along these lines right here. And then moving down here, what I want to do is I'm going to pull this down on this side. And then I'm looking at my image. I'm doing this perceptually, so I'm just doing it visually, but also with some understanding. And then I want to push this up to increase the white area. And I'm just kind of going back and forth to increase the contrast overall. And then I'll go down here once again. It does take a while to gain control. You can also just move these little sliders over here. I'm just going to reset everything once again. And then I can just go into the image once again with the targeted adjustment tool and find those different, let me reselect it again. Find the areas that I want to work on. And then I'm going to locate a very dark area here. And you can see how I want to shape that. And so that increases my contrast substantially. Within the new Adobe Camera Raw, you have the ability to do this in not the parametric curve. You can do this in a point curve. which is very similar to Photoshop. For those people that have worked within Photoshop and the curves layer there, this is how you control contrast. It is not a slider to the left or right. That's a very gross simplification of contrast. Additionally, you can go into the different colors such as red, green, or blue, and then toggle it on and off. Once again, I'd like to stress that you can use the P key, and that will also kind of give you the settings. So if I hit the P key, that's where we were at the very beginning. Hit it again, it shows me the adjustment in contrast. So it's one particular tool that I can use to adjust contrast in my image. And I really want you guys to get away from using just a slider. So once I've got that finished, this particular image, it's not about one change, it's about the multitudes of changes that you can make to an image. So what I would do on this particular one is close that, and I'd brighten the image overall. I'm looking at my histogram once again. I just brighten the image overall, and that will give me an image that, I'm not completely clipping, but I have brightened it to snow, to the white of snow.